with the Jean Monnet program. And so we are going to have two panels. On the first panel, we're going to have Sarah Lewis, which is the former Secretary General of FIS. We're going to have Darlene Nolting, which is after the CEO, the second highest in grade and USSA and first in Alpine skiing. And last but not least, Mikaela Tommy, who is a former World Cup skier and a buff.
Yeah, go Buffs.
Go Buff. Yep. And then we will have a stop and we will start again with a panel of media, which is going to be women in media and sports, which is going to be introduced by my colleague, Marina. Sarah, please.
Sì, buongiorno. Good morning, Colorado, and well, greetings, whatever time it is, wherever everyone who's logged in is around the world. Thank you very much for inviting me to participate. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person. It would have been much more fun, but here we are. It's the real world we live in at the moment. So short introduction to myself. I'd be really happy if everybody who's joining this seminar links with me on LinkedIn. You can see my pathway and we can share and interact. It's always fun to see what you're doing, and you can follow what I've been doing in the past, what I'm doing presently, and soon, very soon, what I'm going to be doing in the future. So I've made some slides. I don't know if you've put them up there.
They're on. The slides are on.
All righty. So just a little bit of background about myself. When it came to yeah, I'm a little bit older than everybody, I think, participating, or at least most of you. And I started as a youngster during the 1970s. So that's probably the time that your parents remember. And I went to a very, very good school in the centre of London. Not really the type of place where you imagine a young budding skier to develop, but that's what I did. And when I told my parents that, well, this is actually what I want to do, and I would like to try to become a ski racer. Well, this was long, long before the advent of online education, of sports academies, and so on, except in a couple of European countries, and actually in the US at that time as well. But I wanted to go to a ski academy in Austria, but what worked out in the end, with government regulations and things, was ending up going to a school in France, to a state school. And that was really the start of my pathway. Then I was selected into the national junior team. I made the national team in the early 80s after I won the national, actually, no, I was already in the team when I won the national slalom championship. But alongside my ski racing from when I was in the junior team, I kind of created an apprenticeship, which wasn't something that formally existed in British academic life, but that's what I did because I wanted to, to continue to keep learning and to be active. And actually, I could earn my way. I could keep myself. So that's really what I did throughout my ski career, in between training camps, in between racing and things. And then after I retired, following the season after the Calgary 1988 games, where I had the real privilege to compete and earn my OLY, my OLY. So what I've been doing as part of my apprenticeship, in working within the ski company, working with sponsors, and really learning about business, I set up my own company as basically an entrepreneur, working in marketing and projects and public relations and the media. It was the first season that Eurosport began with commentating and broadcasting Alpine skiing, and so I was part of part of their coverage, commentating on the Women's World Cup. Then I was a volunteer actually as the manager of my regional junior squad, kind of like the level that you're doing, Darlene, the English junior squad. And so I was voluntarily managing all of their international camps and supporting them, helping out. And then when the British Ski Federation established a professional organization, they asked if I would become the Alpine director. Well, my business was going really well, and I kind of thought, well, why would I want to do that? It's always been so disastrously organized. But when the athletes talked to me, my former teammates only 1 or 2 years earlier, and said, hey, come on, you were like us complaining that if we had better management, we'd achieve better results. So that's what I did. I put everything in my car. I went up to Edinburgh, and there we were. We got the whole thing up and running, and I must say we already achieved some great results with 3 men in the top 30 in World Cup downhill within 3 years, 2 women in the top 10 in the World Championship combined result, combined in Morioka. And it was really a great progress. And during my 4 years at the British Ski Federation, I became involved with the FIS committees, found out that kind of the FIS rules were made up by some kind of invisible organization, but the member national associations, that in fact these were the organizations that went along and went to committees and Congress and could be involved in the decision-making process. So already within a couple of years I was in 2 of the international committees and got to meet the key persons at FIS. I then was they had then just about appointed the race directors. Just when I had started at the British Ski Federation. They began in the early 90s, the professional guys. And they realized very, very quickly that the World Cup had just moved away from the rest of the sport. And said, okay, let's take on board a Continental Cup coordinator to try to bridge that gap and create a pathway. So in the US, that's the NORAMs. And I stuck my hand up and I said to the Secretary General in the coffee break that, well, if this position comes on board, and I'd be really interested in applying for it. And my interview was, when would you like to start? So the end of the Lillehammer Games season, that was 1994, I joined FIS. I joined as the Continental Cup coordinator and had 4 magnificent years where we basically established a system where all of the Continental Cups had common rules. And then we had some adaptations for the specificities of the different cups. So in the Southern Hemisphere, they were a little bit different in terms of their development than the NORAMs and the Far East Cup, and certainly than the European Cup. And we created this system to have the automatic winners in differing numbers, the top 3 in Europa Cup, top 2 in NORAM, and the winners in the other cups who had automatic start places the next season for the World Cup. And this is still in place, and this was really very important. So in 1988, the then Secretary General was elected president of FIS. He was the sole candidate, and he then asked me if I would take over as Secretary General, and I was initially appointed as the director, this lasted for 2 years, but effectively it was exactly the same job. It was responsible for the administration. Basically, there's an expression that there are many fathers of success for everything else as a Secretary General. So that was really, I was handling, all of the operational aspects of FIS and all of the problem areas. So anti-doping and boy, oh boy, we had some work to do in that area when it came to dealing with doping, which was pretty prevalent in cross-country skiing at that time. It was around the time that there was a test for EPO that was uncovered. Blood testing was a big thing. So this was a very critical time. Unfortunately, we also had fatal accidents to deal with. So there was some pretty tough things to handle at that time. But it was also very much about evolving the organization, making it more international, and being able to be more inclusive. I mean, I was the first woman in any form of management position, first of all, at the British Ski Federation, and then at FIS. I must say, I'd kind of grown up in that environment as well. When I was a kid, I played football, and if there had been girls' teams from when I was 14 and you couldn't play in a boys' team anymore, that's soccer to you guys, then that's probably the pathway I'd have gone down, but there wasn't, and I was already in the English junior squads by the time I was 15, and I was doing quite okay in skiing. So I said, okay, well, that's what I'm going to do then. So that's how I ended up alpine skiing. But I'd very much been part of a world where boys did sport and girls didn't really, and not in a professional way. So I was kind of comfortable in that environment. And at the British Ski Federation as well, I was the only woman in a management position. And I was able to, I felt comfortable, and I had proved myself through my capacity. And that's been very important to me, actually, in terms of not being selected, elected, appointed to posts just in order to fulfill quotas and to say, sure, we've balanced out the panel, or we've balanced out the seminar. So I think that's an important point, but there is certainly very much still an old boys club. But I was very much ready to kind of jump into it and to be one of the boys, because that was kind of how the world worked back then. And I think also the fact is that life was not conducive for the structures of international sport. I mean, I made a difficult decision, which others wouldn't be prepared to make, which was, if I was going to take on this position, I didn't feel as though I was able to have and bring up a family. And I've had the same partner for more than 31 years, Jørn from Norway. But frankly, it wasn't something that really jumped out at me and said, that's more important to me. It just wasn't. So I saw this opportunity to work at the level that I did in alpine skiing as such an incredible opportunity. I was prepared to put everything into it, and I had the full support of Jørn, and I was very much driven by that goal. And I did the job for 20 years. It ended a year on Monday, 2 years on Monday, excuse me, which was not planned that way. I ran for president. I didn't prevail, but the journey was really quite something, actually. And I must say, I learned more about myself during that period, during that journey. I learned an awful lot, and now it's been very important to me to contribute back to sports, actually, to share my learnings, to try to serve as a role model, to encourage other women, to get out there. You've got to be prepared to make to make commitments, and it will mean for some people sacrifices. But yeah, I don't think that that's only the case for women as well. There's a lifestyle to working in sport, which means it is not 9 to 5. And you've got to be prepared to do that. But I mean, yeah, working in sport, wow. Wow, it's when it's your passion, when it's really what you feel associated with, and that you can get a lot of energy from it, then you're not looking at your watch, you're not looking at the hours. So that's how I've felt about it. I then, after I didn't prevail with my presidency, I worked with the Chinese Winter Sports Association and the Ministry of Sport, helping them prepare for the Beijing 2022 Games, which was a fantastic journey. It really was. It was tremendous supporting them. These games were always going to be very special. Then there was a pandemic as well, and I'd really worked close to trying to evolve the sport in China from actually before their candidacy. So I knew them extremely well for more than 5 years, and we had an exciting journey. The Chinese team ended 3rd in the medals table, which is unprecedented. They've never been better than 11th. There were 8 snow sports medals, having never achieved more than 3 before. For the first time, it was in multiple different snow sports events. It was more snow sports medals than ice, which is also an absolute first for China. So with 15 medals, that was a tremendous success for them, and yeah, it was a privilege to be able to help them reach that target. Since I concluded that role at the beginning of April, I've been working now with my own consultancy, Sarah Lewis, Global Sports Leader, doing many different projects, as I say, mostly contributing back to sport, working very much within the government's framework, within safeguarding, sustainability, diversity, equity, inclusion, which is very much what we're talking about today, gender equity in this particular case, but also with tech, with startups, mentoring. I worked as lead mentor for a virtual global accelerator, which was fantastic, and I've invested in a couple of exciting startups. So it's quite a big mix, a non-executive board role, and enjoying participating at different conferences, at different seminars. And as I say, giving back to sport. I've also mentored on a pro bono basis a couple of women who are running for leadership positions. And that's an offer I put out to you all. So please, when you feel that you want to take a step up, when you feel that the time is right, that you can challenge for an elected position or for a more senior role in what you're doing, don't hesitate to reach out, and we can have a look. You can scroll through my campaign on the LinkedIn site and see how I went about it. So, Federiga, would you like me to add anything else about myself? I think I've gone on.
We're going to have a discussion afterwards, so I think this is an excellent first presentation. And I now would leave it to Darlene for her presentation. Okay, Darlene.
Thank you. Thanks, Federiga. Thank you, Sarah. In my role, I didn't ever meet Sarah, but definitely was impacted by her influence with the FIS and her roles there as Secretary General. So thank you for all that you have done for the sport of alpine ski racing.
Wait 1 second, Darlene, because we have lights, camera action. Yeah, lights, camera action, and just going.
Yeah, but,
can
shoot,
you,
I might have to
can
start
you
over.
hear now?
No, just go ahead.
Yeah, no, they all should do everything. The problem is that I can't see. Now I can hear something. Okay, let's try it over again.
Okay. For those of you in the room, you have to hear me again. Can you hear us, Sarah? Can you hear me, Sarah? Oh, she's, okay, awesome. Okay, I'm not,
I can
oh, great.
hear you.
We still was seeing Sarah, I don't know what we're talking.
I don't know where we went out and what I talked about. So sorry to repeat for those of you in the room. So short and sweet. I grew up ski racing in Colorado here and grew up in Frisco and went to college at Brigham Young University, ski raced for them. And I was ready to go into the world of business with my business finance degree and ready to do that, but certainly felt like I wanted to spend a little bit more time outside and doing the sport that I loved, ski racing, and giving back actually to the sport at that point. So started coaching and coaching at the collegiate level, and was one of very few, like I said, one other female in the whole country at that point, coaching alpine ski racing. During that same time, I living in Utah, I started teaching skiing at Sundance Resort, and had a super mentor that really believed in me, and I learned a lot from him. And moved up from assistant coach to be the head coach at BYU, and then was a supervisor in the ski school at Sundance during that same time. During that time, I got full certified with my with PSIA and started on my coaching certifications through US ski and snowboard at that time. During that, so I coached there like probably about 6 years, and then came back to Colorado and started coaching all levels for Team Summit, all levels of athletes, and then quickly moved on to just coaching the high school level girls. And I was that head women's coach there, and traveled quite a bit for about 4 or 5 years with that group of girls. And we were able to, we did the NORAM circuit at that time, the highest level of racing here in Colorado below the NORAMs was called the Rocky Mountain Trophy Series. And I probably had 5 girls on my small team, and 3 girls, any of those 3 girls could win at any time. And that year, it was my last year coaching full-time with Team Summit. Those girls won the overall, just with 3 of them. Again, larger teams, it was a special time. They were great girls, and I loved coaching those girls for sure. I like Sarah, it was a lot of travel. It was a lot of time away from home, and I was looking for more of an opportunity to stick closer to home. Thank you. Awesome. And started working for USSA at that time. And I took on a job as the Rocky Mountain Division Youth Coordinator. And that was a really super fun job. I was able to work with the U14 and under, so basically 13 years and younger, and work on development of our athletes in the division, and stay closer to home. Just traveled within Colorado, worked with the clubs and the coaches, and I got to at that time work with MR. She's here in the room. Got to meet many athletes at the when they were super young. So I really appreciated that, and developed a new love of the sport, and being able to really feel how I could be impactful from the very beginning. I was promoted to the Rocky Mountain Division Manager, which is a lot of admin work and rankings, and that's really working with all ages. I still kept my youth coordinator duties, and just added on more admin work and working with the older athletes. And then in 2015, I was promoted to the Rocky Central Regional Director, which and that's part of our Alpine Development Program. There are a little bit of background there. There's 3 regions in the US, the Western region, the Rocky Central region, which is Colorado to Ohio, and then the Eastern region. And we have 3 regional directors. And then we have an Alpine Development Director, and then and so he would be my direct supervisor. And then we have an overall Alpine Director who works with our national teams. So our department is tasked with developing athletes, really the junior athletes. So 20 years and younger would be our juniors, and that's where we're tasked with working with athletes at that level, and their coaches and their parents, and trying to get these athletes to perform and help at the NORAM level, and then moving on to the ski team. So we have goals. We're really trying to help these athletes on the ski qualify for the ski team, meet criteria, and then and not just qualify for the ski team, but it would be our goal that once they do, that they're able to perform at the highest level and go to the Olympics and win gold medals and win World Cup overall titles. So so that would be our goal as an Alpine Development Program. In there, in the middle, I did get married, and I have 2 children. Nicole, my daughter, is a freshman here. I am proud of those kids, but Nicole, both my children are Alpine ski racers. Nicole's a freshman here at CU and loves it. And my son is a senior in high school, and he is in his 2nd year racing FIS in Alpine.
And I would add, one of the best athletes, if not the best in his year.
He works really hard, and he has been successful. So he's had, we'll see what he does. He's works really hard, and we're excited to see what all he can do. What else? I in giving back to our sport, I am a instructor for the US Coaches Ed program, and I teach certifications. I help the coaches in our country get certified. I sit on various boards and committees, and I feel like I have a pretty strong voice in our sport of alpine ski racing. And then I have worked on my certifications on the officials world as well. I've been a national level TD, which is a technical delegate, which would be your chief official at a ski race. And I just recently passed all my certifications and tests to become a FIS level TD, which basically means I could be a TD at any international race in the world, including Olympics or NORAMs or World Cups. So I just finished that up. At this point in my life, I work really hard to find opportunities for the females in our sport. There's really not very many of them, of us that coach at the highest level. So I try to support the women that are working hard and find opportunities for them, so they can promote themselves and just find opportunities for them to coach and learn and participate and support them in what their goals are. As well as, and not just the coaches, but then also our athletes. I'm really proud of the work we've done, and working for US Ski and Snowboard, we have 5 of our top leadership position are women at the top level, with our CEO, our chief of sport, our finance, our CFO, and then our chief, trying to think, she is I think she's the CMO as well. so 5 of those are women. And so I see a lot of opportunity in our company right now. And our company is, we are a nonprofit, and we are, and it's, we work with FIS, and really we're the national governing body is what we really are, not really a company, but the national governing body for Alpine ski racing in the world. In the country.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I can't wait to involve you in the project focused on women in skiing. We have money to work on the next 3 years to promote women coaches in alpine skiing.
Love it.
Yeah, looking at you as and
I'll let you jump in here.
now we get the athlete point of view with Mikaela.
Can we put up my slide?
Yes, we can put your slides. This is making.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I just want to say I really appreciated Darlene and Sarah hearing your careers, because I think that's just like right now I'm still young and passionate, but I think it's cool to see how you guys have made like a lifelong career out of ski racing, because it is not something that women typically do. So I really appreciated hearing your guys' stories. My name is Mikaela Tommy. I have some fun facts here. I'm 27 years old and an alpine ski racer from Canada. I grew up skiing in Wakefield, Quebec, which is a small town in Quebec. I grew up skiing on a small ski area as well called Edelweiss. I began my career on the Canadian national team and on the World Cup in 2013. I'm also a recent college graduate with a bachelor's degree in environmental design from the University of Colorado, where I also skied here on the D1 ski team from 2018 to 2020. So when pondering what I would speak about today, I was pretty overwhelmed with what I'd share. I have been reflecting upon my entire ski racing career and all the experiences the sport has given me. The triumphs, the injustices, the traveling, the failures, the good, the bad, and all else in between. I could stand here, or sit, I guess, and tell you my perspective and opinion about how it feels to be a woman in sport. But I think I'd just rather share one of my favorite memories from the sport. It's a story about my best friend, MP. No, that's great right there. First, I'll give you a little context about the sport of ski racing for those who don't know, to better understand the dynamic of the story. Although skiing is an individual sport, we usually travel within a team, and at the highest level within your national team. We share a handful of coaches spread between several athletes. We cheer for each other and also try and beat each other. We come from all over the country and range from ages between as young as 17 to over 30 years old. It can be a crazy mix of people and personalities, but we act as like one big functioning family. Since I was 17, I was raised by ski coaches and older teammates. So one of my team moms was recording in progress. My good friend MP. She is 7 years older than me, but she always treated me as her equal. We were always roommates and adventure buddies. She was my mentor and my best friend on the team. In 2018, I made the personal decision to step away from the national team to attend the University of Colorado while still racing on the World Cup independently. This was one of the most difficult decisions of my life. I'd be traveling around Europe without coaches, ski technicians, physios, or any type of support. When I made my decision, my friend MP, who had also recently retired, told me she would help me out and come on the road with me unpaid. This was very exciting for me, but I also had doubts. On one hand, I would have more flexibility to travel and train how and where I wanted with my best friend by my side. On the other hand, I had to find a way to pay for both of our expenses from my own pocket and do all the logistics and planning. Being the free spirit that I am, it was like my biggest dream, but also my worst nightmare. Oh wait, where are you going?
No, should I wait?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
I'm going back here.
Okay, thank you. Before we even traveled to Europe to start our journey together, I need to emphasize there was a certain anxiety I felt about this season. It was hard for me. I had always been on a team. I didn't really like the idea of being away from the system that I knew. The fear of the unknown felt like really overwhelming. This is why MP is such a key part of the story. Her energy was always really easy to be around. Her motto was no stress. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Fast forward, we are now in Europe. It's late December of 2018. There are 2 World Cup races before the new year. One in Courchevel, thank you. For the one in Courchevel, France, and one in Semmering, Austria. We arrive in Courchevel for the race, and the energy feels electric. Everything is working out for us. We just got put in the coolest art hotel. I have just handed in my final paper of the semester, and MP is really enjoying coach life. A little more context about ski racing for those who don't know. Giant Slalom, which was the race I was racing, is a 2-run race. So you do 2 runs in 2 different courses, and in the World Cup, you only the top 30 from the first run, so the top 30 fastest times, like get to do a second run and get a result. So the pressure is on, like in the first run, to perform. Also, to reiterate, we're solo on this mission. Typically at a race, teams have several coaches, several ski men, physios, doctors, media people, all on the hill to help the athletes. Now it's just me and MP out there. But for some reason at the race, I felt so secure and I trusted her so much. I didn't really think about how much of a disadvantage we were at. We embraced being the underdogs and loved it. Yeah, we can be like that. In Courchevel, I did finish in the top 30, and that was a huge relief. I was the top Canadian at the race and came 19th overall. This was my best result to date, and I was so happy. The best part about the feeling was that MP was equally as happy. Like, it was amazing to share this moment with her because she understood all the struggles I'd been facing as an athlete and how this moment meant way more to me than just a result on the page. Like, she'd literally seen me grow up in ski racing. Yeah, you can keep it on that one for me.
Yeah.
Before the next race, it was Christmas and we were in Austria skiing. Going with the wind became our motto for the trip. We often didn't know where we would sleep or ski the next day, so relaxing over Christmas was hardly the case. But we thrived off the spontaneity and adventure. We bounced around, visiting old friends, having dinner with strangers, and free skiing at new mountains far from the competition, which was a very unusual approach to sport ski racing. We were 2 friends traveling Europe together with no real plan and having the best time and success. I had my best results on that trip, including 2 top 20s. Now I have to thank my friend MP for embarking on this journey with me. It was her selflessness, her bravery, belief, energy, and her attitude that brought the best out of me. I had the greatest athletic success with the aid of my best friend in the most unconventional way. It all makes sense now that I think of it. She had been in my shoes before. Not many years earlier, she was racing at the same races, traveling through the same towns. She understood the anxieties and fears that came with being an athlete. She created an environment for me that was understanding of my needs as a human first. She was empathetic when I was down, strong for me when I couldn't be, and just overall supportive. She knew how to keep the vibes high, and she understood the entire situation without me having to justify myself. It's crazy, but that was the first and last experience I've had of having a woman as a coach in ski racing. I am forever grateful for this experience. It's honestly had the greatest impact on my perspective in sport and has made me the woman I am today. I believe that the energy we created was the most important part of the success that season. I wasn't doing everything by the book or what like they say you should do to succeed, but we were truly living in the moment and looking at everything as the glass half full. I hope to hear more stories like this one in female sports that exhibits camaraderie, friendship, and belief in each other. Next one. This is just a little fun bit. This is, yeah, MP and I on the trip, behind the scenes for your eyes only.
Thank you. So thank you very much. Now I would like to open the floor. I have questions, but maybe we start with the people here. People from home, you can also ask from homework, wherever. You can also ask questions, and we can go from there. Sarah, are you there as well?
I sure am. And just like to give a shout out to both Darlene and Mikaela for your intros. It's really great to hear your pathways as well. Well done, Federiga, for getting all the different perspectives.
All right, so well, I fixed this. It's okay. This is good on screen. I'm checking that is on screen is okay. Right.
Okay.
I have a question for you, Sarah. You know,
Timmy.
you said I was really ready to play like a boy, which, you know, really resonates with me. I always played with the boys like a boy. Suspect Darlene would be in the same league, more or less. I don't know what you think about it, but you know, it's a controversial phrase at the very least, if you pronounce it. For us, it was the way to be, you know, for our generation.
I think for our generation to be accepted.
Yeah.
To be, sorry, Sarah, if I'm jumping on your, but you can jump in here. In our generation to be accepted, to be a part of the old boys club, you know, we couldn't, we had to be tough, you know, we had to, we couldn't complain, there was no drama, you know, otherwise, like, there just wasn't a place for us. We would definitely get pushed out, for sure. You know, even, and I think it's, that view is changing. Not as fast as we would hope, I would say, but Sarah, what do you say?
Well, for sure, when I was growing up, and I mean, yeah, I would say pretty much most of the time throughout my career in FIS until well, not so many years ago, really, you know, you had to be prepared to roll your sleeves up and to get your elbows out there and to go and sit at the table with the leaders, whether or not you were invited. You know, you probably, Fed, you'll for sure know of this study because it's in the US and it's quoted a heck of a lot in academia, that as women in leadership positions, you can basically be liked or respected, but it's very, very difficult to be both. And I must say that because I was actually, yeah, pretty focused and tough, and very much a driven person, working extremely hard and extremely dedicated, because that was I knew I could be respected through my really through how hard I worked. And I was, no question, but not everybody liked me because they knew it was pretty tough to come on that journey. You know, you had to sacrifice a heck of a lot, and not everyone was prepared to do that. And frankly, especially not a lot of women who feel sort of a bit, whoa, taken aback by it. I must say, perhaps, Mikaela, you can resonate quite a lot, because it's fairly athlete's mentality. You just want to achieve that goal, and you want to make it. So that was the route that I chose. In a lot of cases, you would be viewed as a strong man, but well, women, yeah, there's a different perception, very, very much so. Yeah, there's a nice academic story about that one, but I won't get into that at the moment. About exactly the same profile, exactly the same styles, was how Helga behaved, and the professor, he presented it as to his group of students with, okay, one group you're gonna study Helga, and the other one you're going to study Howard. And Howard was actually Helga, just changed the names. The students who were studying Helga, they didn't really want to work for her. They thought she was really tough, and that was a difficult one to be able to connect with and to feel empathy. Howard, ooh, he was a tough guy. He was good. He led the organization in a pretty strong way. Yeah, they'd like to work with him. Same person, huh? That was Helga. So yeah, it's the perception of others, and that's what we now, where we have the opportunity, want to try to change for your generation, Mikaela, and for those coming up in the future, that actually you can be a strong leader and also be a woman. But what I do think we have, and I went to school, I went back after my career at FIS ended, I went to the Institute of Management Development for a fantastic course called Inspirational Leadership, based in Lausanne. It's the #3 business school in the world. And I went through very much the whole profiling and the different forms of leadership, the empathetic leader, the coaching, the supportive, but then also when you need to just be a driven leader, and you need to take the responsibility, and you need to deal with things when it comes to issues. So Fed, I think that's one perspective I can give on you.
I'm happy you can't see her, but there is a younger coach who is coaching DU. So I wonder, do you feel you're playing like a boy, or you feel you're bringing something different from Jonas to the table?
I think that I have to work harder than Jonas to get the same respect that he does. But I think it depends if I'm coaching men or if I'm coaching women. I think it's easier for me to get respect from female athletes compared to the male athletes.
Which is
That
rather,
helps answer your question.
yeah, it does. Doesn't make me happy, but and for the record, MR is a phenomenal coach. just to say that.
I wouldn't say that that's like across the board though. I would say the male athletes that have had strong female mentors in the past, or have really like strong moms, I guess would be the best way to put it. They seem to react better to me than ones that never had a female mentor growing up.
Exactly. Questions from here? Otherwise, I will continue. Ellen, you have a question? You have a comment? Anyone from the? So another question is, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so,
Say it loud.
okay.
Yeah.
First of all, I just want to say thank you guys all so much. All of your stories were very motivating. And then I have a question for Sarah. So during your time commentating for the Alpine World Cups, were you a freelance broadcaster? And then also, what are your biggest tips for females wanting to get into sports broadcasting?
Sarah, did you get it?
Yep, loud and clear. Wow. Well, yes, I'd set up my own little company called Consultant Ski. And I had done a screen test for BBC Ski Sunday, which I hadn't succeeded. But I then reached out, or Eurosport reached out to me. And I'm pretty sure that they reached out to me through one of the other commentators who I knew there, and they asked if I would come and do a screen test, which I did. It was based in London, and really, I mean, it was right at the beginning of the show, so they were looking for expertise. I had done commentary on a volunteer basis at dry ski slope races in England. I really knew my stuff. I researched, and I was very much in touch with the World Cup. So I was actually going to be the expert commentator. And on that first weekend that I did, which was when the openers were in Park City, actually, I went to the studios because we were recording, like I am now, off tape. And it was where the Sky Sports studios are now. So I went there, and well, in fact, the guy who was meant to be doing the men's races, he wasn't able to come. So my main commentator was going to do the men's stuff, and I had to do the women's on my own. So I'd never done it before. I was going to be sort of led in and then just giving my expertise and my comments and so on. But then I actually had to do the whole thing on my own on the first weekend. Basically try to get out there and volunteer for local races that you'd like to do the commentary, and perhaps connect through social media, do some stuff yourself, perhaps some podcasts, some recordings, and try to build up a bit of a portfolio. You know, you have to imagine this is before the internet existed. So it was a very different world then. It was a very different space. It's you need to know your subject. If you show that you really know all of the content, it's very much about your delivery, about your voice. Can you carry your voice in a good, convincing way? Not too many ums and ahs and stuttering. How's your expressions? Are you going to show really a lot of emotion and excite the audience, but you also know when to be quiet and when to just let them take it in for themselves, and listen to the good commentators, listen to how they do things.
Thank you very much. I have a question. So sorry, you have more questions? Yeah, no, go ahead. You said there were 2 questions.
No, there's just one.
So which are in your past, you know, you talked about MR, but in your past, who were the people who supported you the most, who allowed you to get where you went, where you are? All of you. Who wants? Go ahead.
So I feel actually at a key point in my career, I had strong people, you know, willing to support me. And early on, all of those people in my career were men, which I think is very critical to success, to supporting women in sport, right? It can't all just be us in this room. Otherwise we're, you know, or all the women we can do what we want to do, but we really need we really need everybody together and the strength in our sport, in our world, to also feel like they're a part of supporting and promoting women in our sport of ski racing, but in any other sport. It's a joint thing. So I was super lucky. I mentioned at when I was at Sundance, my ski school director believed in me 100% and was like ready to like, promote me to before I even had my certifications. When I came back to Summit County, the coaches I worked with 3 men, which were really wonderful and supported me and never made me feel like I had to prove myself. They just, they really supported and the athletes were, the athletes saw that those men supported me and knew that I knew what I was talking about. So I had that respect. I have my husband, we've been married 20 years now. I certainly wouldn't have been able to do what I do. I travel for my job and go to camps and take athletes on trips and gone 2 or 3 weeks at a time. And, he's had to manage those kids when they were little, all by their own. So I appreciate him a lot. He definitely believes in me. And then my supervisor, when I was finally promoted to regional director, was a strong woman at that time and really pushed for me to have that position. And now I really, I do appreciate my direct supervisor now. He gives me a voice and listens, and which gives me confidence that I am able to, like in national committees, feel like I have my voice is important and I can talk freely.
Mikaela, apart from MR.
MR and MP.
Yeah, sorry, MP, got it.
MR too,
Sorry.
always been a support. Well, like first and foremost, my parents, I think they always supported me a lot, because they also ski raced, and they knew they knew a lot of the challenges that come with that. But like, I was just thinking about it, and it is kind of unprecedented what MP and I had done, where we were 2 females alone. There's usually always a male in there at some point. And not to say that we didn't have male support, like I was also attending CU at the time, and my coach, Richie and Stefan, and all my male and female teammates were like super supportive. So I felt like so supported that year by just my community. But I do remember speaking with like my teammates who are still on the national team, or even Larissa Yurku, who was a Canadian athlete who had gone independently before, and she'd been super successful, like coming 3rd overall in the downhill World Cup. And I called her that summer because I was pretty nervous, and I was like, I got to get, organized. I got to figure out something. And, she kind of talked a lot about, she did a really good job fundraising and etc. But she had an Austrian coach, like a male coach, and he was great, but like he was so well connected and like in the quote unquote boys club. So I would say she didn't have like MP and I, like we kind of felt out of place for like a while. And like still when I would race, I feel a little out of place, but I remember by the end of our, 3 weeks in Europe, like all the coaches loved MP. Like they were like taking her out, buying her drinks. Like they couldn't get over that. Like we were like, didn't know what we were doing, and we just show up and they were like, oh, like come, like we'll let you train in our course. Like they were so accommodating and so supporting of us. But definitely at the beginning, we got a lot of like, weird looks and like, this looks a little like not official, like because we were just 2 girls, and one who had just recently stopped racing. So I would say it takes a bit of like courage from you as well to like make that step in whatever you're trying to do in sports, to like it's going to be super uncomfortable, but I just love that I did do that. Even if it wasn't like a super sustainable plan because I didn't pay her. So but we had a great 3 weeks and I'll remember it for the rest of my life. So.
Sarah, who are the people who supported you the most?
Well, of course, I think it does all begin with your parents very much, because when you're a minor, you can't take those big decisions for yourself unless you have their support, actually. So when I shared with my parents, who were both solicitors, they were both lawyers, that really I did want to try to pursue being an alpine skier, and to go to a ski academy. I had actually great support from both of them. Now, my mum had been, her father had said to her, right, well, if you want to work, then you got to get out there and work. So he didn't let her study longer and complete her higher examinations, and he made her get out there and go and work as what you call in law an article clerk, and do her studies alongside with that. And well, when she qualified as a solicitor, she came top in the whole of the United Kingdom, and as one of the youngest. She then, reasonably young, got married, had 2 kids, brought them up, was a partner in a law firm, and she was just full on. She really was, and did a lot of other things at the Citizens Advice Bureau, voluntary things. So she very much showed, and this was not what women did. Women didn't bring small kids up and work as a partner in a local law firm, but nevertheless, she was pretty young when she did that, and so it was. I didn't see then any barriers why I couldn't also work in a leading position, because that's what my mum did. Even though both my grandmothers, they effectively brought up their children. Everything revolved for them around the family. And they didn't work, the husbands went out to work. And my dad, he had said, listen, studying, well, you can do that when you can't do your sport anymore. So he was very much the sports guy in the family. And so I spent a lot of time with him, and we're very, very close. And whilst my mum isn't with us anymore since many, many years, my dad is. And now I do things for him, which is lovely. But as I went through my ski career, I think perhaps because I was so driven, that I had a lot of people who just supported me on the journey, and they saw, yep, she doesn't need to be dragged along and told to work harder, or wasting your talent, or why are you so lazy? Quite the reverse. And all the coaches were encouraging and supportive. And I didn't kind of realize, look, I could actually make it to go to the Olympics. You know, I came from London. The skiers in the national team lived in the mountains. They came from Scotland, or they went to ski academies. I certainly didn't. And but they encouraged me. And the coach of the English junior national team at that time, he was extremely supportive. And he told me, dream of an Olympic medal. This is what your focus has got to be. And so, wow, you know, he gave me totally different expectations. And then, yeah, that's what I was aiming to do. That's what I was aiming through my career to do. And I didn't prevail in that one, but I nevertheless made the World Championship team. I made the Olympic team. And this certainly has been my life's pathway, no question.
Thank you, Sarah. For people following online, please don't be shy and ask your questions. We're people here. Yep, go ahead. Loud and clear.
Darlene, it's for you. So you said that men supported you in the beginning and that it needs to be a joint thing between men and women in sports, no matter if you're, you know, on field, wherever you are. Some women don't have that support from men. So how do you think we need to change the man's mindset of the view of women in sports?
That's a good question. I think it's a hard question, right? And I think it's you know, I think trying to, we're not gonna go in and like browbeat, right? Like respect me because I'm a woman and I deserve it, right? I think like Sarah has said, and I mean, I think it's through hard work and you know, unfortunately, we have to do it better and harder than the men. We don't necessarily get that direct respect because that a man might get. But I think then also look for help these, you know, at this point in my career, I am here to support any female that would like to, you know, that I can support in my you know, in my sport. And I hope that the female coaches, I really try to reach out to them. I'm a mentor to them. I talk to them on the phone. I see them on the hill, and really promote them. Even little things in our sport of at races, right? The coaches set courses at races, and when I was a full-time coach on the hill, I never got to course set. I never got to set at a race. I would referee a lot, all the time. Because you know, oh, well, you're good with the admin stuff, whatever. I can set a course, you know, so I will, as a female leader in our sport, I will, if I'm at a race, for sure, I will pick females to set courses, make sure that there's equal opportunities there. When we go on projects or races, you know, we try and bring some of our best kids together to go like to a U16 national champs, right? We will take like 20 kids. And I always try to make sure that we have at least one, if not two females on that staff, those coaches, you know, and make sure that I'm, you know, trying to provide equal opportunity for those females, and then support them along the way. I'll speak up for them, you know, put myself out there, and then support them, write letters of recommendation, anything that I can do as a female leader in our sport.
If I may add to your question, I've been working on women leadership for a decade now. Hopefully the book will come out, and we work in a number of issues ranging from foreign policy, sports, media, government, and this is extremely sad, but the reality is that what matters most is not the studies you do, is your partner. And you are young, but your partner is the only person you're going to choose in life, right? You don't choose the family you come from. You don't choose your kids. You may be lucky, as we are, or you may be unlucky, but the only person you choose in life is your partner. So choose wisely, right? And someone who, you know, whether man or woman, who tries to stop your wings, this is not a good partner. And remember that people don't change. We would like, you know, women especially, they come into relationships, think we're gonna change them, we're gonna bring the better out in them. And this is, you know, our Red Cross spirit or Pollyanna spirit, whatever you want to call it. So be wise, you know, and there's passion in the beginning, and there must be friendship and cooperation and support afterwards. So this is, it's really research result, which sort of bugs me because I would like to think that and of course, hard work is a major component, right? But you can and prime component, but you can study and work hard all you want. If you have a partner who's constantly putting you, not supporting you when you have to leave, and in sports, this is even more, more the case, or whatever, there's no hard work that is gonna help with that. I have to confess,
True.
I haven't published a book yet because I didn't get the results I wanted to have. So I'm like, okay, am I gonna do this or not? Yep, Ellen.
So this is kind of a follow-up to your question, but what Sarah said kind of resonated with me, that you can either be liked or you can be respected. And your success may be based on that. But then it's almost like a catch-22 that at the same time, we may need men to support us to advance and be successful. So I guess my question is how do you walk that line?
Who wants to go?
I think that's funny because I was thinking just the same thing, because it's like in any situation from when you're young to when you're old, it's like you're either really liked by boys, but you're maybe not respected. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just the way it's hard. Like, girls always have to try and be liked by boys instead of just like being yourself, which is kind of from when we're little girls, like we feel that pressure kind of. So
At the end of the day, it's very much who we are. But the liked versus respected, it's, and I come to you, Sarah, it's more enhanced when it comes to women, but it's also a component from men. I've been in government for a while and worked with very different leaders. I had, for instance, a phenomenal boss who incidentally is also a ski instructor. That's how we became friends, and I came to advise him. But he wanted to be liked. And sometimes you have to have the bravery to, no, you don't like me, who cares, right? I do care for people. I really care for the respect of the people I respect, right? That really would, but it's the individual. Sarah, I saw you had a raised hand, so you want to go?
Yeah, I think that this is important, and I've sent you the link to a TED Talk, a 10-minute TED Talk, where they talk about exactly this this study, and it's extremely interesting. And I would ask you to share it with all the participants in the seminar, and just watch it. And I've seen it on a couple of it, and I've actually heard about this study during my IMD course, so check it out. But I think I've learned since leaving FIS, it is a certain empathy that you just have to make extra efforts. I think as women, we do tend to have a better feeling how to be empathetic, how to treat things in a different way, and you need to actually handle different people in different ways, for sure. You need to know when someone is quite timid and they need coaxing out of themselves in order to get good stuff from them. And then you need to also know the other ones where you just need to be rough and ready and pretty tough and show that you're leading the pack and you're there for them and you've got their back. And hey, anything that's going on, don't worry, you're going to be at the front of that army and so it's different strokes for different folks. And yeah, by just being the nice person who's liked by everybody, and I think we all know what Mikaela was meaning, kind of the boys all like the girls who are want to go behind the bike shed with them and stuff when they're kids. Well, I don't know what you do these days, but anyway,
Like
that's
them,
what I
but
mean.
they didn't respect them, and that's
yeah.
that's a major difference.
Precisely. But the ones who played on the soccer field with them, like I did, and stood up and took penalties, I was respected, because not everyone was willing to do that. And I played in goal a lot as well, and the five-a-sides, because I'm 5'2.5". So, but five-a-sides because I did gymnastics too. So I was really, really agile, and I was great in goal in five-a-side, and loved it, absolutely loved it. So, you know, and they respected me because I got out there with the lads, and I played football, and I did my thing, and you know, I was rough and ready. Yeah, other girls had other ways of sort of being, as it were, in with the boys, and then when you're also very good in what you do, there's a lot of jealousy attached to that as well, and that's where you have to also know to be when to use a very Norwegian expression. My husband is Norwegian. It's important to also be humble, and to know when it's the right time to talk about what you do, and to be proud of it, but it's also the way you do it, and when it's okay just to do it and get it done, and not push it down people's throats that, yep, you were top again, and yep, you won the award, and yep, oh, that was easy, you know, and so there are ways that you make yourself disliked without it really, which you didn't need to do, which you really didn't need to do. And I think feeling your way through different circumstances is very important,
Darlene.
Yeah, I liked your last comment there, Sarah, where you said feeling your way. I mean, as women, we are a little bit more intuitive and empathetic. And sometimes we do have to go up against some strong men, and trying to figure out how the best way to maybe get our point across, or get those to get respected that way. And I think it's listening and respecting where they're coming from, and make sure they know that you also are respecting them and listening to what they have to say. And then you really can't just go in and go, this is it, right? This is my way, kind of in a hard way. I think you have to sometimes roundabout way get there to get them to respect you, and get in and respect your opinion, and get them to listen to you. I do think at this point they can like you as well. I don't, and they can respect you. A lot of it comes from what MR said, and if they've also had a strong female mentor or a strong mom, I think that really helps. I actually love the juniors really coming up in our ski world right now. They are coming from a different place than we came from, or even where, your age, the male athletes. There are more strong females out there really making a difference, and the boys and the teenagers, they're listening. They're really listening, and they do appreciate women and where they're coming from. So I'm excited that we are making a difference.
So I have to say, I don't know if you see that as well, looking at the Alta Badia kids or at my university students, boys have changed. It's true. I mean, you can immediately spot a boy who has had a different upbringing, a strong mother especially, and they are respectful and they're nice. Girls have changed less. I mean, the amount of insecurity I see among my students and my athletes still today, sometimes I'm like, I would expect them, younger girls, to be more self-confident, given that, the boys are more open to them, they're different and they grow in a different world, and yet I don't see that much, especially in the university world, I have to say.
Can I respond to this? I think I see what you're trying to say here, but I slightly disagree because I do think it's also about the environment we still live in. It's very much still a world ruled by white, middle-aged, middle-class men, and it's easier for boys, I think, for this change to happen because still there are more opportunities, still there are more seats at the table, and I think it's hard to generalize, and of course, maybe you are right, and this is like your experience, but I do think that it's still due to inequality. Like we can expect change to happen when so many things still remain to be unequal.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And and that's why it's so important that we have female coaches, because these female coaches that are strong and supportive of our female athletes, our young female athletes, that's where they're going to get the confidence from, because those strong female coaches, they connect with the girls. They provide confidence like MP did for you, and the belief and the confidence that another female can provide for each other is empowering. It's really empowering. And as I watch it as a mother, my daughters for sure had really wonderful male coaches, but definitely would connect a little bit more with those female coaches that can be a little bit more empathetic and then believe in them really, that belief really empowers our young women, and confidence in themselves. Yeah.
I would also say that it might just be more about like the way people communicate now, like through social media, and like I went to college a little bit later, so when I was, the age to go to college, like Instagram had like just come out, and like before that, like sure we had Facebook or whatever, but like mostly we just text our friends or show up or whatever. But now I feel like, there's so many different apps or ways to connect with people, and people like not wanting to open up messages, like having anxiety about if I read the message too quickly. Like there's so many things now that kids deal with, and I've noticed it just with like kids who are just like 5 years younger. I'm like, whoa, like it's a whole other style of, and it brings a lot more anxiety and like kind of doubt in yourself when like you see everyone else growing up on social media posting their highlight reels, and your whole teenage life you've just seen everyone looking their
the
best.
last one, the real life
Highlight reels. Yeah. I don't know, like it's just tough. Like I feel like definitely way different than your generation, even different than just like the 2010s. Like it's way different.
Each of you want to say one last word, and then we stop this panel. We have 1 minute each.
1 minute each. Wow. Thank you for this opportunity. I love women. I am going to give a little shout out to Nicole Lavoie. She runs the Institute for Women and Girls in Sport out of Minnesota. I have learned so much from her, and just had opportunities to meet and talk with her, and really has helped me grow as a female mentor in our sport. But so great to listen to you and your story, Mikaela, and thank you, Sarah, for your story and everything that you have done for our sport. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, Mikaela, please.
Oh yeah, well, same. Thank you guys for coming to listen in person and on Zoom. Thanks, Fed, for having me. Background is Fed actually helped me out a lot this past season. I was in Europe racing, and she was pretty much my manager.
Mom.
She
Forced her mom.
She made dinner a lot for me, and she organized a place for me to stay, which was a little less chaotic than when I went with MP. And it was really nice for me to have someone to help me like that over in Europe. And yeah, thanks Sarah for all your expertise, and Darlene, I appreciate you as well. And just having known you, but not really knowing your whole story. So.
Sarah.
Okay, look, I very much miss being with you guys, because I can really feel a great energy in the room actually, and it would have been so nice to interact with you, coffee break and maybe some lunch, and yeah, we could, because those are the valuable times for these meetings. So please make the most of interacting now with Federiga and Darlene, with Mikaela, and amongst each other. And what I would say is, please, all of you, you're very welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn and share your journeys if I can help and support you in any way. You know, mentoring other women on their journeys is important to me, and maybe some of the stuff that I'm posting and sharing and stuff like that can be helpful and interesting to you on your journey as well. What I would say is, you know, you're growing up in a world now where you do have this chance through social media to educate yourselves, to learn, to get out there, to get involved, and make the most of it. It's there for you, and there's an awful lot that you can benefit from it. And yeah, I've enjoyed working with both men and women, and it will always continue to be the case. And we are different, and we bring different qualities. And why should women have an equal position at the table? Well, you only have to look at society. You know, we make up 50% of it. And this particular group is Alpine ski racing. And guess what? Who are the big stars at the moment? I don't think, I think, Mikaela, you've got a namesake who's certainly one of them, you know. The women are the big stars in the sport at the moment, and they're the ones who are certainly in the US, without any question. They're the ones who are getting the eyeballs on the screen, and that's been in the US the case the last 10 years. So, yeah. That's why actually we deserve a seat at the table, because we want to talk about our sport, because we know that there are differences, and we can help make it better. And it's not a case of one or the other. It's a case of doing everything together and interacting with each other, because where we work together and where we've got a good diversity, that's when we're at our best. So your coffee break might be a little bit shorter. I'm sorry for that. I wish you a good one. And I'm going to join.
Thank you. Next time we'll be in person. Thank you very much, you all. We're going to have 10 minutes break. I think this pretty much resumed total badasses. Thanks for being strong, tough women in skiing. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, all three of you. We have 10 minutes.